Hey, loves, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another Bomb Live. Today, we are going to get into a lot. This is going to be a really intense live. But if you're coming back to my channel, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, I am a self-love coach who specializes in helping people radically transform their lives through one-on-one coaching. I've been through it all. Traumatic relationships, traumatic childhood, trying to leave a job. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm in Colombia. There's a football game, so they're being extremely loud. I'm going to put my headphones on in a minute, and y'all should be able to hear less of it. But anyways, I've been through the most and came out on the other side. I'm actually coming at y'all live from Medellin, Colombia, because I decided I wanted to change my life and move out of the United States. So I did just that. So if you are in need of that type of help, hit me up at thepassportsis@gmail.com. With that said, guys, I'm going to wait for a couple of people to get in here. Today, y'all, I have a lot to talk about because let me tell y'all something. Candace Owens be doing the work of the Lord. And I don't care what nobody says. Hey, Olivia, good to see you, sis. I know I'm coming at y'all late, but I don't care what nobody says. People can call Candace Owens a coon. Majority of the people who call her that would not be able to. Let me go ahead and put the tech on, because this don't make no damn sense. Give me 1 second. Olivia, can you hear them real loud? Let me know. Do you hear that outside noise? Communication. I don't want to be on here sounding bad. Okay, Olivia, tell me how I sound now. You hear them super loud? Tell me what it sounds like now. Again, if y'all are just now coming in, hit that like button. How do I sound? Y'all let me know in the chat. If y'all can still hear them really loud, let me know. Because once I get going, I don't want to be dealing with this technology. It's about the same, but it's not bad. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they quiet down when the game is over. But with that said, Candace Owens be out here doing the work of the Lord. People want to call her a coon. They want to say that she's not black or she's anti-black, or people have a lot of things to say about her because she's constantly critiquing the black culture, which to that I will say, what other culture is she supposed to critique, because she's not a part of that culture, right? Most people are going to critique their own culture if they have cultural critiques because they know it inside out. With that said, the vast majority of the people that talk about Candace Owens would not last in a debate with Candace Owens. And I'm not talking about some news network where you're trying to get like the sound bite. I'm talking about a long form, real sit down debate where you actually have to sit down and listen to what the other person is saying and think about what they're saying and then respond. Most people are not going to win with that woman. She is very smart. She is very intelligent. She knows why she says the things that she says, and she stands on business. With that said, let me tell y'all, I've come a long way because, again, I used to not listen to her. I was one of those people. I used to be immature. I'm going to be very honest. I used to be very immature when it came to politics, even though at my most immature, I was still more willing to listen to other people than most people. But I always listened to people who I agreed with, and it was easy to get me up in my feelings, especially before the age of like 25. I was always up in my feelings. Like, I was one of those annoying people who was like any little thing. Like, if I seen a white girl with some braids, I made it political. Like, oh my God, it's cultural appropriation. mind you, the girl is a regular person. She ain't making no money off of these braids, and I feel away because she walking around with some braids in her head when really I had other things I should have been worried about. But when I go back and look at the times where that type of stuff was easily distracting me, I wasn't happy in my personal life. Do y'all understand? Like, if you're constantly triggered about stuff like that, there are other things that are going on. And a lot of the times, on like the bigger issues, you can't even focus on the things that actually matter because you're so caught up trying to focus on the little things. And a lot of the arguments that a lot of liberals make when people say, hey, y'all be focused on the little stuff too much, or y'all be nitpicking too much, they say, well, we can do both. We can focus on the economy and we can focus on cultural appropriation. And it's like, if we could do both, it would have been done. We clearly can't do both. So let's focus on the stuff that matters, right? So it took me maturing. It took me getting more life experience. I've had so many experiences that I would love to tell y'all about, and they will come out when I've had time. It took me going and working in the school system. It took me talking to people that I wouldn't normally talking to and making friends with people of different backgrounds for me to be able to be mature enough to actually sit down and listen to Candace Owens and not get offended by the things that she was saying and actually see the truth in it. And I'm very grateful for that, sister. I feel like as a community, we've been unfair to her. I'm going to say that. There are some things that she says that I don't agree with. For example, I am not a Christian. And a lot of her viewpoints are faith-based viewpoints. For example, she is pro-life. I am very much pro-choice. However, I'm pro-choice with limits. I'm pro-choice because my life experience has taught me that poverty, having all these kids in poverty with no real way to take care of them, does a lot of damage to kids. I've seen what happens when people have children that they cannot take care of, and we're not gonna stop people from goosing. I don't care. We're not. Okay, they gonna get that itch scratched, right? So I'd rather these women have an out and a way to not have all these kids back to back to back, and then the kids go through a miserable life. And society is not kind to people who were just dealt a bad hand in life. It's just not. Most never make it out. So I'd rather people who cannot afford to have children have the opportunity to just go on and do what you need to do early on so that we can prevent having more emotionally damaged people enter society. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel about it. With that said, y'all, Candace Owens dropped a bombshell. So I want to show y'all this website real quick before I get into her interview. Apparently, there was this was during the 60s, okay? I did not know this, but apparently the United States has been trying to figure out how they can get into another world war for a while, and not just the United States, that country that starts with an I. I don't want to necessarily say it because my channel and platform is smaller than Candace Owens, and even she had to be smart about it. You know what? Bump it. I'm just going to say Israel. Okay? It is what it is. I'm not going to be sitting here censoring myself the whole time. So apparently during the 60s, there was an attack on a marine vessel called the USS Liberty. And the men who were aboard that ship and survived have all said that Israel was the one who staged the attack, that they knew that it was a U.S. Marine ship and that it was done on purpose and that it was done with the consent of Lyndon Baines Johnson. It was done with the intent to blame it on Arab nations and draw us into another world war. And I'm going to show y'all the part of the interview that Candace Owens did with the man. And I'm pulling up this website, right? 1 second. pulling up this website because they have a website that y'all can donate to. But basically, these men were told to be quiet or they would be ruined or unalived, or that their families would be unalive. And I think it's important for this story to be circulated because a lot of these men are in old age. Okay. So this is the website. It says honorlibertyvets.org. Okay. So what happened to the USS Liberty? The USS Liberty was a virtually unarmed American Navy ship that was attacked by the Israeli planes and torpedo boats on June 8, 1967. What were the American casualties? 34 American sailors were unalived and 172 injured that day, a casualty rate of 70%. This is among the highest casualty rates ever inflicted upon a U.S. naval vessel. So for those of y'all who don't know, we were in Vietnam at that time. So we were already in the midst of a war that we were not going to win and did not win. Mind you, this was a war that we would never have gotten into if Kennedy would have remained president. But we all know what happened in 1963. John F. Kennedy gets assassinated in Dealey Plaza in Dallas, and Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was not elected the president, right? And again, this is normal policy. This is normal procedure. He was the vice president, right? But we have a situation where a person who actually lost, because if y'all don't remember, he lost to John F. Kennedy during the Democratic primary. A person that was not elected president came to power and ran full speed ahead with all the things that John F. Kennedy was opposed to in terms of international policy. Okay. And this is why I strongly believe that our country did the right thing by not electing Kamala Harris as the vice president. She was unpopular during the primaries, and make no mistake that if she would have won this election, we would be in World War III for sure. I don't know if we've completely avoided it yet, but we would for sure be entering World War III. How do I know this? Well, the signs have been there. The signs have been there. There have been conflicts escalating in the Middle East. The whole NATO situation escalating with Ukraine that ended up with Russia invading the Ukraine after several threats. Joe Biden has now authorized U.S. missiles to be used against Russia, which the Ukraine has went ahead and did. So that's what I'm saying. We still don't know if we've completely avoided it. It seems like while Joe Biden is supposed to be in a lame duck presidency, he's doing everything that he can to get Russia to declare war on the United States. And you better believe that if Russia declares war on the United States, it will be a world war. Russia and their allies will go to war with the United States and its allies. So we're not completely done. We're not completely out the clear. What I'm hoping is that he sees what's going on and that he just waits some things out until Trump gets in office. With that said, Trump ran on an anti-war policy, right? So I feel like out of the two of them, one was running on an anti-war policy, one was not. Kamala Harris never won on anti-war policies because she knew they had absolutely no intention of avoiding war. The goal with that party is to escalate wars. And it's really sad because it used to be the other way around. Y'all remember the Bush years and the Bush administration? Well, now it's like completely flipped. You still have the rhinos that are in Congress, that old guard of the Republican Party that would love nothing more than for us to be in a world war, because they have a lot of money tied up in stocks and companies who deal in war. But overall, this newer face of the Republican Party, the populist part of the Republican Party, is very much anti-war and very vocal about it, right? So with Kamala Harris we pretty much knew for sure we were getting world war. If she would have been in office, that would have been a certainty. At least with Donald Trump, we had an opportunity. And that's what I try to explain to people when they try to demonize people for voting for Donald Trump, because it's like, well, how could you vote for him when women are being unalived because they can't get abortion care? When most doctors know the difference between abortion care and miscarriage care, and women are supposed to go get care in a hospital if they are having a miscarriage or complications due to abortion. So they're cherry picking rare circumstances, and they're not talking about all the instances where women have gone to the hospital to get abortions, right? And again, I'm saying this is to get care after a miscarriage or abortions. And I'm saying this as somebody who is pro-choice. I would prefer that every woman in every state have access to an abortion if she so chooses. If I could have my way about life and get everything that I want, that would be my decision. But when it comes down to preventing World War III and women being able to get abortions, I'm going to choose preventing World War III. Every single time, I'm going to make the logical decision and put my big girl panties on and prioritize stopping World War III. Because if the world gets blown up, then we won't even have to think about abortions at that point. Sorry. So for a lot of y'all who sat up and tried to demonize people because y'all felt like people who voted for Donald Trump or supported him did not like, don't like women and hate women, even though a lot of them are women. A lot of people just simply had to make decisions and prioritize other things. Hey, what's up, Jamal? What's up? It's good to see you, brother. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm catching up on these comments. The military industrial complex mob and oil guys knocked off JFK, as well as anti-Castro forces. Oh, I wholeheartedly believe that. And let me tell you something. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Kamala Harris is lockstep in line with the deep state, as Joe Biden was. But Trump is sort of fighting. Yeah, and Kamala Harris, she wouldn't even been a real president. She would have been a puppet president. Who's been running the White House while Joe Biden has been in office this whole 4 years, completely out of his mind? Because he was out of his mind the first time he got elected. And I remember this because I spoke up about it and was told I'm not a doctor and I don't know anything. Who's been running the country? Now, many would say it's been Kamala Harris, and that's possible. It's possible. And she's so incompetent that I could see that, but I don't think it's been only her. Everybody is anti-war when they are out of power. Everybody is a hawk when they are. True. And that's what I'm saying. Even with Donald Trump, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. Now, he didn't begin any new wars while he was in office. So I'll give him that. In terms of that, he stood on business. But with that said, he's got to come into this and figure out a way to de-escalate. And I'm also going to talk about how we need to hold him accountable and how he deals with Israel, because we don't need to send any more money over there. Sorry, we don't. Israel intended for attack on USS Liberty to be a false flag to attack Egypt or possibly draw Russia in to draw in the USA. Yes, Obama's been running the White House with a little dash of Bill and Hillary. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I could see that. And people can say that I'm a conspiracy theorist for thinking about stuff like this, for considering stuff like this. But let me tell y'all something. In this day and age, in 2024, being called a conspiracy theorist is a badge of honor. Because all that means is that I ask questions, that I listen to different perspectives, that I don't believe something just because somebody told me, and that I think critically. I question people's intentions and motives. Okay, so calling me a conspiracy theorist is not an insult, because all that means is I think how I want to think, and you think how you're told to think. Okay. And another thing I'll say in regards to that is I don't really need to spend too much time arguing with people, because for those of us who have been called conspiracy theorists, time has been our biggest vindicator against people who are naysayers, against people who try to make us look crazy, against people who bully us. My question that I have to you anti-conspiracy theorists is, how does it feel being wrong all the time? It must suck, okay? Because so far, y'all been taking L's left and right, okay? For years, y'all called people who came out and spoke against UFOs crazy, mentally ill, and the U.S. government has went on TV, including CNN, and confirmed that these things do in fact exist. Y'all called people who were against getting that shot during that mass sickness that happened in 2020. Y'all called us crazy, conspiracy theorists, and anti-science. And since then, it has been confirmed that shot does in fact cause myocarditis and things like blood clots and things like long COVIDs and issues with women's reproductive systems, along with a plethora of other illnesses, right? And these things have been talked about on national TV, including CNN. So how does it feel knowing that you lack foresight and the ability to peak gain, and that you're constantly taking L's and judging others just because they can see things that you can't see before the world sees it? Okay. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous at this point. And another thing that I want to say is, I wish that when we are vindicated, y'all would be just as loud as when y'all were taking the time to criticize us when we initially said what we said. Because y'all don't never have a mass movement of coming out and saying, dang, they were right. Such and such was right this whole time. Y'all just listen and pretend like nothing happened. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I could go on and on. Again, guys, if y'all are just now coming in, hit the like button. Okay, so let me go back to reading this page a little bit, and then I'm gonna get to the actual interview. So what was Israel's explanation for the attack? Israel claimed the attack was a case of mistaken identity. Now, this Marine is going to completely debunk that, okay? That they didn't know it was an American ship. Why would we question that explanation more than 30 years later? The ship's survivors were afraid to speak out in the early years because of threats of court-martial, prison, or worse if they did not remain silent. However, as time passed, they have stepped forward to say the attack was deliberate. Now, I'm going to share my screen with Candace Owens' video that she did. We're not going to watch the whole video. We're going to watch like the important parts. And if y'all want to go on there and view the interview in its entirety, you can. Let me say this. Candace is brilliant. She's 1000% brilliant, because when she put this video out, she put a personal announcement. That's the title of the video. So of course, people are going to click on it because they're nosy. So, you know, I'm thinking she's going to announce that she's pregnant or something like that. No. She came on here to drop bombs, but she wanted to do it stealthily, and she did not put this information out until she had that man right in front of her, to where nobody could block the story. With that said, I'm going to commend Candace Owens, because I used to think she was a panderer, but she's done something that a lot of people that work for the Daily Wire, like Ben Shapiro, have been completely unwilling to do. And she came out and she criticized Israel and lost her job for it, and has still continued to keep it pushing and do her. Guys, I'm sorry if y'all hear fireworks. It's Christmas time. They pop fireworks all night long. Okay. So I am going to be quiet and play the video. Let me turn the volume.
June 8th, 1967, I was just 20 years old when the gallant crew of the USS Liberty was savagely attacked. Our American flag was proudly flying on our ship in the Mediterranean Sea that day. The designation AGTR-5 was clearly painted on the bow, port, and starboard sides. USS Liberty was written in English on her stern. When we arrived on June 7th, we were overflown by Israeli reconnaissance aircraft. And the same activity.
Okay, so y'all see the pictures. The markings are clearly on the ships. USS Liberty is big on there.
Was repeated on the morning of June 8th. We were positively identified as American and friendly by the IDF. We had requested a destroyer escort long before we entered the Mediterranean, but we were denied twice. Our captain assured us that we were clearly marked as American and we therefore had nothing to fear. We were alone, 12.5 miles off the coast of the Sinai Peninsula, always in international waters. The Israeli reconnaissance aircraft were clearly marked with the Star of David. We therefore felt secure, seeing a flying boxcar and other smaller recon propeller aircraft taking good care of us. The attack began at 2 o'clock on a beautiful, bright, sunny day by French-made Mirage and Mistral jets painted black with no markings. We had no clue who was attacking us, but assumed it was an Arab state. During the first pass-by, the jets took out all but one of our transmitting antennas, as well as every watertight door above the waterline.
Okay, so they wanted these people unalived. They took out their transmitters. Luckily, and y'all are going to hear this, they were able to get one going, but what happens after is just horrific. It's unthinkable, right? So the first thing they did was take out the transmitters. Now, most of the time, from what I've seen, and I might be wrong, if you're in the military, you can correct me, but most of the time they just get to dropping bombs, right? But they strategically took out the transmitters before they decided to systematically try to blow out the airtight door. Like, they did everything to try to make sure this shit sunk.
The air attack lasted about 25 minutes, killing and maiming our firefighters and any sailor who moved. Our radio man took one antenna offline, so it wasn't transmitting and wasn't hit. He ran a long wire to it, and the SOS went out to the 6th Fleet. It was even picked up as far away as Vietnam. Rockstar, Rockstar, under attack by an unknown jet aircraft. Help us, help us. Captain Tully, skipper of the USS Saratoga, sent jets to come to our aid. Before the jets hit the horizon, they were recalled by Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara. Captain Engen of the USS America and Tully relaunched more aircraft.
Okay, so you get the Secretary of Defense that works directly with the president recalling aid to this U.S. ship that's under attack.
To aid us. They were also recalled, this time by Lyndon Baines Johnson himself. He said, quote, "I don't care about a few dead sailors. I will not embarrass my ally, Israel. Return to base immediately."
Okay, now, you're the commander-in-chief, sir. What you mean you don't care about a few dead sailors? And it was in the hundreds. It was in the hundreds that were unalived. See, these people in power, they see you as collateral damage. A lot of the times we move about our life forgetting that ultimately these people have the power and authority to blow up the planet. And if you're a normal person that doesn't have Machiavellian tendencies, your first impulse is, well, they would never do something like that. You know, they have a heart. They care about women and children and other men and soldiers and the viability of life and humans on this planet. But these people don't think the way normal people do. And when power is the number one objective, you will move in ways that are just diabolical. So in their minds, you are nothing but a roach that they don't have any problem stomping on. If that means them obtaining and reaching their objectives. And this is why it is very important that the United States and the citizens of the United States at all costs keep people out of positions of power who have already shown themselves to be warmongers.
End quote. How did he know who was attacking us if we did not? We were set up by our own government to let a foreign government have their way with us. The IDF even dropped napalm on the bridge of our ship. How low they would go, we would soon find out. 3 motor torpedo boats headed our way, and 1 torpedo hit our...
But you know what, Jamal, that's not even a white people thing, right? That's not even a white people thing. Okay? Obama was the drone king. So many people were unalived during his administration due to drones. It is ridiculous. Obama dropped more bombs in the Middle East during his presidency than what were dropped during the entire Vietnam War. So Kamala Harris, she's another one of them ones. She doesn't have a white parent. You know, whether she's black or not, that's up for debate. But what we do know to be facts is that she's not, she's not white at all, So she would have been in office continuing these wars. So there are a plethora of other Black people that if they were put in the position of being president, if they could benefit or they were too afraid for their lives to speak up, would definitely support these wars. This is about power. I was down with his drone program until I got deprogrammed of mainstream thinking. Yeah. And to be honest, I didn't know about it while he was the president.
Our starboard side, we saw the Star of David on the boats. They were there to sink us. The attack continued for another hour and a half. Attacking jet aircraft destroyed all but 3 of our life rafts, which we had put overboard. We were going to place our most seriously wounded in them so that they would have a chance at life. But the IDF would have none of that. They shot 2 of them out of the water and took 1 aboard their boats as a trophy of the kill. They continued shooting and killing my mates. They left and we thought that it was over, but it wasn't. IDF helicopters were sent with troops armed and ready to board our ship and finish us off. Then they just left. I guess the gig was up when the mighty IDF could not sink our defenseless ship. When it was all done, there were over 821 rocket and cannon holes and over 5,000 armor-piercing bullets riddling the ship. Napalm was burning us up, and a 40 by 40 foot torpedo hole was in her side, causing the ship to list badly to our starboard side. We then waited 17 hours for help. I guess they hoped that...
17 hours! It's giving George Bush and FEMA during Hurricane Katrina. That's what it's giving.
We would sink that night. Help was only 40 minutes away from us, but they left us out alone to die. When the USS America and the USS Davis arrived to help us, they took our wounded to care for them. Their wounds were so horrific, words cannot explain. Admiral Kidd boarded our ship a few days later, and the cover-up immediately began. We were ordered to never speak of the attack to anyone, not even with one another. Penalties would be fines, imprisonment, or worse, and we all knew that worse meant death. We have been treated like garbage for the last 57 years. Congress has been bought and paid for, with the exception over the years of a few brave lawmakers. Their names are Representatives Pete McCloskey, Paul Findley, and Jim Traficant. As the courageous Rep. Thomas Massey has noted, all Republican members of Congress except for him have AIPAC handlers. We can assume this is also true of nearly all Democrats. We are the most decorated ship in naval history for a single engagement. I believe God saved us that day to allow us to communicate the truth of this attack to leaders like you. We give all power to Jesus Christ. We are just his servants that horrible day and now. The USS Liberty survivors are the biggest whistleblowers this country has ever seen. We have been smeared as anti-Semitic, Jew haters, and Nazis. Our only sin is that we survived.
And Ben Shapiro, he used to work with Candace Owens on the Daily Wire. He has said that this is a conspiracy theory. It's crazy because you will have these same people, and that's why me personally, I identify as an independent. I will say, as I've gotten older, my views on certain things have gotten more conservative leaning, but I don't completely all the way lean into the Republican Party like that, because you do have people who are just as bad on that side as the people who are on the Democratic side. The only difference is there's more diversity of thought on the Republican side. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Like with the Democrats, you have to be completely in lockstep with their agendas, or else if you step out of line or speak up, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're every type of ick. There could be absolutely no logical reasons why you object to the things that you say. You have to pretend that things that are going on are not going on. You have to allow them to gaslight you. You have to care about stuff that you don't really care about. You have to put culture wars over economic policy. And then on top of that, you have to be 1000% okay with looking the other way while they rig primaries. So much so that they were bold enough to sue people who were running against Joe Biden this past primary, like RFK. They sued him, right? So much so that you had them changing primary rules, and then eventually they just appointed who they wanted to run without giving the people a chance. See, it got so bad over there that I couldn't stay. At least with the Republican Party, with all the terrible rhinos over there, they at least gave Donald Trump the opportunity to run because they know where their bread is buttered. At least they had some form of respect to the power of their base. You know, their mindset is, we'll let him get in office and we'll just oppose him in Congress. The Democrats don't even want to give you the choice. But with that said, I refrain from saying, oh, I'm a Republican or going all the way completely over on that side, because I know there's that faction of the uniparty that still exists over there. And I don't agree with anything these people say. They should have filed a suit against the government. You have more of a voice in the Republican Party if you can do for yourself. You can survive and be you, of course. With the Democratic Party, especially if you are a minority, especially if you are a Black person, us the most, more than anything. And we do it to ourselves. Like, we bully each other into conformity. And if you don't think the exact way the Democratic Party wants you to think, then you hate yourself, or you don't like Black people, or they even go so far as to just say, we kicking you out the community. It's weird. And we do it to ourselves. But not only do we do it to ourselves, we allow people like Joe Biden to say things like, well, if you don't vote for the Democrats, then you're not Black. Sir, who the hell are you talking to? Again, guys, if y'all are just not coming in, please hit the like button. Y'all know I'm trying to grow. That helps people know that I'm on live so that they can hop on. I consider most of the Dems today dinos. They are not the left to me. I'm the left, real progressive with more of a conservative tinge. I think most of us are that way. Okay, let's continue with the video.
We didn't kill anyone. Israel did all the murdering that day, and the U.S. government did all the covering up. I'm asking you to help us save America by telling others the facts about the slaughter of my mates. We are begging you to support us. Respectfully, Phil Turney, the president of the USS Liberty Veterans Association.
To make sure that the communication technicians got where they had to.
So this is the guy. This is the guy who wrote the letter.
Take a shower, go to chow, go to work, stand your watches. And when we were out at sea, we'd sunbathe a lot because, you know, we were always off the coast of Africa. and we were doing reconnaissance there, up and down the coast, 4 or 5 miles an hour, all the time. And we just go up and down and up and down. We go to ports, different ports, Luanda, Angola, Abidjan, you name it, all the ports on the west coast.
So it's beautiful.
Oh my, was it ever? Great taste, pineapples, everything. It was great. I love those people. They were good to us.
I just want to say Candace Owens is beautiful. And I love this representation for Black women. She's so well-spoken. She's always got herself put together. She's always looking really classy. And that ain't to say, that we can't get a little sexy. That ain't to say that we can't get a little ratchet. We want to. But what I'm saying is she's always carrying herself in a manner that is respectable. So I don't understand all the hate she gets when she is such an awesome representation. She's beautiful. She's well-spoken. She's articulate. She's intelligent. And she's kind. I've never seen her be anything but kind to people who she interacts with, even people who are intentionally trying to press her buttons.
And you're also thinking this is very low risk. You're going, hey, in terms of having an engagement, I'm being sent out here. It's beautiful weather. We're sunbathing. Things are looking up.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was good duty. It was great duty. But on the last cruise, we were headed to Africa again, just like we always did. We stopped in Abidjan, and this was in June. And we got emergency orders to leave. We just gotten there. We got emergency orders to leave, get everybody back aboard ship ASAP. And we took off for points. We had no idea where we were going, but the 6-day war was what's going on.
Okay.
And we didn't know it.
So that's the red flag. You just get somewhere and then you get emergency orders to leave. Now, to be fair, that could have been anything. They could have known somebody was on the way to torpedo the place. I'm just talking about how the bridge of events kind of unfolded here, where they are probably looking back and being like, yeah, this was definitely a setup.
Oh, you didn't know it was going on?
No, not till a little bit later.
Okay. So at this point, and just to be clear, how long had you been aboard the USS Liberty?
I did a little over 2.5 years on the Liberty.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
You had seasick, not seasick at all then, I guess.
I got seasick every time I went out for about a week, and then it was gone.
Okay. So now you get these emergency orders, and you have no idea where you're going. Are they giving you any information, or they're just saying it's an emergency, everybody get back in?
Everybody get back in, and we headed to...
Yeah, Jamal, I used to not like Candace Owens as well. And looking back, I was letting people play with my emotions because I had never, at the time that I disliked Candace, I had never sat down and listened to one of her podcasts or listened to her interview in her entirety. It had always been from clips that I would see on the internet to where they would get like the soundbite with no explanation, and I'd be like, she's a straight up coon. I was one of those people, but I was wrong, and I'm willing to admit that I was wrong. And the more I actually listen to her in her totality, I absolutely understand why she says and does the things that she says and does, and she's right about a lot. The problem is people don't want to admit when they're wrong about somebody, and they don't want to give them a chance. There are people who, because they've seen some clips that people posted on the Shade Room or posted on CNN to get us in our feelings and elicit an emotional reaction from us. There are people who would never even give her the opportunity enough to listen to her in her entirety on one of her podcasts, right? So they continue to hold firm to those beliefs.
We rode to Spain. We picked up 3 Marines. They were linguists, and a civilian, Alan Blue. He was he was killed, by the way. He was another linguist, but he worked directly for the NSA.
Okay. Okay, so he gets on board. You're in Spain now, and then where do you go?
We head into the Mediterranean, and to go through the Rock of Gibraltar and all that. And all the ships were going this way, going the other way. We were the only one going that way.
Okay, and still nobody's informing you about the 6-day war?
We did find out that we were going into a war zone.
Okay, and what information, if any, did they give you?
None.
None. You're just going into a war zone. Prepare for anything?
No, we were prepared because our captain, Captain McGonigal, we trained all the time for different situations, chemical drills, fire, all kinds of different stuff.
And what's the general mood as you guys are heading towards there, the conversation between you and your shipmates?
Apprehension. In fact, we had the Star of David. We knew what was going on then. People had Star of Davids all over the ship, inside the ship, hoping Israel would win because they were our best buddies in the whole wide world. And come to find out they weren't.
So now it's June 7th.
Here's the problem. We're not allies in terms of the people of Israel and the people of the United States. We're not allies in that way, right? We are the people in power in Israel are allies with the people in power of the United States. That's as far as the relationship goes. As far as the people in power over there, they could care less about people like you and me. We are a roach. That is why they continue to siphon money from us, and our government continues to send our money over there. And they have absolutely no concern about the economic situation of the people in the United States. I was watching President Zelensky do a video basically imploring that Trump continue to fund that conflict in Ukraine. And everybody knows that in the United States, we are suffering economically. Everybody is experiencing economic hardship. So for him to feel like the American people should continue to go without while we fund a war that he played himself into is crazy. How could you be our ally? You're not an ally of mine. You're no friend of mine. And again, for those of y'all who might say this is like, when I'm talking about in terms of Israel, this is like anti-Semitism. I believe that the Holocaust happened. I believe that it was a horrible thing. I don't think that people should be discriminated against on the basis of their religion. I think something like the Holocaust should never, ever happen again. I personally don't have any negative attitudes towards people who are, from that religion. I'm trying to be very careful, and it's crazy. This is how you know something is wrong. This is how you know something is wrong, because I can talk about any other group on YouTube and not have to worry the way that I have to worry when I am talking about that country. Y'all understand? And there are plenty of Jewish people who have come out and spoke up against the tactics of the Israeli government and the things that they do. So this is not about individual, people of that religion or race. This is about the tactics of one government. Y'all understand?
Is that correct when you arrive into the Sinai Peninsula?
Right. We got there on the 7th, and the Israelis started overflying us then, taking pictures of us. Same thing happened on the June the 8th. Flying boxcar, which is a 2-engine plane. The doors were open. You could see the cameraman taking pictures of us.
So they're that close. They're that low.
Oh, yeah. You could see the pilots. We would wave at them, they'd wave at us. Very friendly. They would dip their wings like everything's great. And we felt good because our best friends were there. And we had no worries. I mean, none at all, because they were going to protect us. But it ended up they didn't.
So you had described in your letter saying that you had the American flag displayed. Can you describe for me, first and foremost, again, reiterate where it was displayed and also how large the flag was?
Right. It was on the mast. and the flag was brand new. It was a 5x8 flag, very visible. It was 12 knots going over across the deck. You could see the flag, and in fact, the Israelis identified us as American and friendly.
How do you know that?
Well, we know it because of the intercept we picked up, and they admitted it themselves. We were on their war table. They identified us as American. And when they changed the watch, they forgot to tell the other.
I'm glad that Candace is asking these questions and that she's asking it the way she's asking it, because the people like Ben Shapiro, who have come out and said that this is a conspiracy theory, they are standing on Israel claiming that it's a case of mistaken identity. When this man right here and all the men that were on the ship that day are saying, no, this was not, absolutely not the case of mistaken identity. They knew who we were. They knew we were there.
The watch commander that we were there, they took us off their war table. So we no longer existed.
Okay. When you say take you off the war table, I'm not familiar with that lingo.
Okay.
So what does that mean? They took us off the war.
Well, on the war table, they have like different ships or different.
Like literally set up the table
Right.
that shows you.
Right.
Okay.
And what's going on. And they took us off. So we were gone to them.
Mm-hmm.
They thought. But they knew exactly what they were doing. Exactly what they were doing. When they overflew us, they took the pictures of all the ship. They knew exactly what to hit and when to hit it. And I might add, I believe, and I think most of my shipmates believe, that this attack was planned a year in advance.
A year.
Not a year in
advance.
advance.
Yes.
What makes you say that?
Well, there was another spy ship in the area, USS or the SS Valdez. It was a civilian manned ship, but it was owned by the Navy. It could have done the same thing that we were doing, but they took them out of the area. Sinking the USS Liberty is a hell of a lot sexier than sinking the Valdez.
Why is that?
You know what?
Well, it's all American.
Yeah, that does make sense. And remember, he said while they were on their way into that area, all the other ships were on their way out. And yes, the USS Liberty does sound like, oh my gosh, this is an attack on freedom and liberty in America. It doesn't, the Valdez does not give. It doesn't make good headlines for yellow journalism.
Sailors and Marines, they wanted this at the bottom. And so they could blame it on the Arab states and bring us into World War III.
Okay. So let me ask you a question.
This leads me to believe that y'all remember during World War I, we got pulled into that because of the attack on the USS Maine. No. That wasn't World War I. It was one of those wars that happened in the early, I forget now. It was either the World War I or the Spanish-American War. That's what it was. It was the Spanish-American War. We got drawn into the Spanish-American War because of the attack on the USS Maine. And that war, the Spanish-American War, was over in a matter of months. I mean, we went into the Caribbean and completely dominated. That war ended all of Spanish reign in the United States. Like after that, they had no colonies or no territories, not in the United States, in the Western Hemisphere. From that war, we got Guam. From that war, we got Puerto Rico. From that war, Cuba became a protectorate of ours. But the headline was explosion on the USS Maine. And that leads me to question whether or not the Spanish actually did that. Because y'all have to understand, strategically, Puerto Rico is a very important island to have. It's considered the door to the Caribbean, right? And we have benefited financially from having that territory. We have benefited financially from having Cuba up until the Cuban Revolution, which is why they're still being punished with an embargo today, right? So this leads me to question other incidences. We do know that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was a false flag event, that they lied about that.
It's the morning of the 8th, and you like you said, on the 7th, they took pictures, they positively identified you. You were able to hear this over the radio. Did they still
Yes.
have at that moment the CIA agents on board?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. So the Spanish-American War, it was the Maine, and it was the Lusitania in World War One. I'm sorry.
Yes.
The NSA agents were on board, so you still got the exact same amount of people that are on board here.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about a pretty big sacrifice they were willing to make.
Right.
Total number of people?
294 souls.
294 souls. Okay. Take me through what happened on June 8th. You get up.
We get up with 0600, and like I say, we go to chow and take a shower, go to chow, go to work. We had a damage control drill just before the attack, say about 1 o'clock. And I was in damage control. I was assistant on-scene leader in damage control. And I was in an impregnated suit, which is a suit for washing down the ship of chemicals. And it was very, very hot that day. I mean, 100 degrees on the deck, easy or more. And I thought I was going to pass out. It was so hot. Finally, it was over with. And I went and stowed my gear. Excuse me, the sound-powered phones weren't working on the starboard gun mount.
The sound?
Yeah, they're sound-powered phones, from just like, you could put on headphones, but they were sound-powered. They weren't electrical. And for some reason, it wasn't working. And I went to the IC shop, and I got a friend of mine, David Skolak. He was an ice seaman, and that was his job, take care of the IC system there for sound-powered phones and the IC system, intercoms on the ship. And he came up there, and the gunner's mate was up there also. They were manning the guns. We were in a condition 3, just in case, because we could see the bombs going off and everything on the Sinai. So we thought, that this is really not a good place to be. And just as soon as I left that gun mount, about 30 seconds after I left it, I got back to my workstation, and all hell broke loose. The attack began.
What's the first thing you remember?
First thing I remember was all hands get to your general quarter stations. We're under attack. We're under attack. And I got to my GQ station, which is in the front part of the ship. And those 2 men that I just left there, not a minute it took me to get back up there. They were dead.
Wow. That's the really sad thing about being a soldier and being in any branch of the military, right? Because most of the time you're going to be okay, right? A lot of them go through long periods where they're not seeing any action or they're not involved in any action. And then it's just like one day or, one moment can completely change your life. And I know they sign up for it. But, you got to think there's probably a level of comfortability that comes with being in that situation for so long and nothing happening to you. And then just like all of a sudden, all hell is breaking loose. Like, we really don't do our service members the way we should be doing them. We really don't give them the due justice. We don't give them the due compensation, and we don't give them the due respect that they deserve. And how you feel about our government and the wars, the petty wars that they choose to entangle these service members in, that's one thing, right? But I feel like that's something completely separate from our servicemen who are just following orders. Do y'all understand? Like, we can completely condemn the wars that our government involves us in while also having empathy for our service members. What I don't have empathy for is the ones that go to these places and are raping women and children, okay? Or committing mass massacres, okay? I don't have respect for that, and that does happen. But I'm just talking about your average serviceman who was just there to do their job.
Anything that moved aboard that ship, they were shot at. As in the letter, they took out all of our antennas within 3 seconds. Our 450 caliber machine guns were gone. Every watertight door was
Hi,
hit.
Timothy Taylor. This is my first time
20.
seeing you here. Welcome. We are talking about how in 1967, it is alleged this man was on the ship at this time. It is alleged, I have to say alleged. It is alleged that the United States government allowed Israel to attack one of our warships in an attempt to stage a false flag event and get us into World War III. He is a survivor of that attack. Mind you, at this time, we were allied with Israel. So, you know, he's talking about the betrayal that happened and how the Israeli military attacked this ship and unalived a lot of American
25
citizens.
minutes, dropping napalm on us. I mean, 25 minutes of that, you can't imagine. Every second was like an hour. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. And you got people severely blown up, wounded badly. And it continued and continued and continued for 25, 30 minutes. And then there was a lull. We saw the torpedo boats coming. We thought, the Star of David, you know, oh, good. Because these were unmarked jet aircraft. We didn't know who was attacking us. We thought it was the Arabs. And then we saw the torpedo boats and the Star of David. Thought, oh man, here's our best friends who are going to come help us. No, they come to sink us.
Okay, so this is what let them know that it was the Israelis who did this. They came in torpedo boats that were marked. Okay, and you can't tell me that those torpedo boats, you know, they're in the water with them. You can't tell me that they can't see that that's the USS Liberty. And you can't tell me that they are attacking ships that they have no clue what their identity is. I'm sorry, you just can't.
Talk about them dropping napalm, and so they did this immediately. What does that do for people that are not aware? What is the purpose of that, and how does the body react to napalm, the chemical agent?
It can burn you severely, and it also can explode your lungs. Very, very hot. I tried to go up and put it out with CO2, and I couldn't do it. They shot up all our fire hoses too. We had no way to fight fires with water at all. They shot them all up.
This was an extermination. They were trying to make sure that nobody came off of that ship alive.
Instantly, in that first 25 minutes.
Yes.
So they took out
everything.
The antennas instantly, the fire hoses instantly, so you couldn't take out fire. And during those 25 minutes, what were you doing specifically?
I was getting people off deck, taken to a triage in the mess decks. The whole mess decks was full of people laying on the tables, on the floor. It was a sea of broken and bloodied men. And it continued like that for the entire attack. You know, and then the torpedo boats got up to us. They fired 5 torpedoes at us.
So all the antennas are taken out. 25 minutes has passed, and they're obviously assuming that you can't communicate.
Give me 1 second, y'all.
Your distress. You indicated in your letter, was it before the torpedoes that fortunately somebody had taken one of those
yes.
offline?
Terry Haldebardier is the third class radioman. he strung a long wire to the only antenna. He took that antenna offline because it wasn't working. So they didn't hit it because they were using heat-seeking missiles to hit all the antennas. Because when they're tuning, they throw off heat.
Wow. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Y'all can watch the rest of it on her channel. I try not to play an entire video of a YouTuber, just out of respect, you know, because they work hard, and you know, I try to leave something for y'all to go watch. But with that said, I mean, this is very sad. These men are adamant that this happened and that Israel did it. And you know, my whole thing with this is, and I've said this, I've been saying this for years. You know, there has never been anybody like in a position that mattered, like the presidency, who has been brave enough to speak out against Israel. And there is a reason why. And we got to try to figure out why, guys. There is a reason why the Democrats and the Republicans will fight on everything. But when it comes to Israel, they are in lockstep agreement. And I'm talking about the people who are in Congress. There is a reason why we can't stop sending money to them. There is a reason why we have to constantly justify the things that they do. I want to know what they have on us. I want them to know what they have over the people in power. And it's so bad that even RFK, who I admire and respect, because he has been brave in terms of speaking out against his own party. He has been brave in terms of speaking up against the military-industrial complex. He has been brave in terms of going up against the FDA. He's been brave in many aspects. But when it comes to Israel, he falls in line and in lockstep with the rest of the Democratic Party, as well as Bernie Sanders. Donald Trump also knows not to speak negatively on them, not too much. And there is a reason why, because you cannot convince me that all of these people agree with what that country does. You cannot convince me that all of these people genuinely, in their heart of hearts, believe that they're just such a great friend of ours that we should just be sending them tons of money and funding their lifestyle over there. So there's a reason why. And it is the job of the American people to hold the people in power accountable, to get to the bottom of it and figure out why. Because if you can't give us a good explanation why that we accept and that we feel like is good enough to continue sending our tax dollars over there, then it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Don't forget, Israel has drawn U.S. into every war in the Middle East, like the Gulf War, Iraq War, Syria, and Libya. Yes, it's like every time they want to, it's like the friend that can't fight. I've talked about this before. Have you been the friend who got them hands, you can fight, but you don't like to fight, right? Like you like to chill. You don't like drama. You understand that negative consequences can come from fighting, including jail time. But you go out with your little short friend, scrawny friend who can't fight, and they feel like just because they got a real big stepper with them that they can talk shit to every chick in the club. Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to be quiet, because you're not the one who gonna have to fight these big burly chicks, but you the one running your mouth like you can. Stop it. You know, with that said, guys, y'all hit the like button. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on to Beyonce and Jay-Z. Now, if you've been on these internet streets for a while, you knew that hammer was gonna fall. That it was just a matter of time. I've been hearing the rumors and allegations about Beyonce and Jay-Z's relationship, I want to say since around COVID, since around 2020, right? It has come out, first of all, that has already been a weird relationship. So I've heard through the years that originally Jay-Z wanted to get with Aaliyah, right? Because he wanted to attach himself to an R&B chick. He wanted to attach himself to a woman that was going to be a star. And of course, Aaliyah appeared to be next up. What it looks like, and this is all alleged, is that when Jay-Z realized that Aaliyah was not going to be that for him, according to Jaguar Wright, she had to go. Because we all know she chose Dame Dash. And we all know how Jay did that. So once Aaliyah was out the picture, Beyonce was up next. And that is who Jay-Z pursued. Even though he was significant, she was significantly younger than him at the time. And I was listening to Yanni the other day, and Yanni was like, well, where were her parents at? Because y'all got to understand, Beyonce comes from like that Southern middle class family. She didn't grow up bad. She didn't come from that same environment that Jay-Z came up from. And one thing y'all got to know, I know a lot of you suburban chicks, y'all are enticed by the bad boy. But because you don't come from the same environment, you're not built for it. I don't care what social media gasses you up to believe. I don't care that you're out here cosplaying as a ghetto chick. You got to go through the game to get the game. That's just kind of like how Lil Baby got with Jada and ran circles around her, and her family has always had money. I don't care if she gets a BBL and lip injections, and this is no shade against her because she's a beautiful girl. I'm talking about the hood chick, rapper baby mama aesthetic that she has now. That's not where she comes from. So when you get with a man like Lil Baby that's from the streets that knows that you're green, he's gonna run circles around you, right? So we know that Jay understood that there is a shelf life to a man being a rapper. Really, over 30, 35, it starts looking crazy if that's all you're still doing. And I've always said men look better, more reliable, and more respectable when they have a wife. Think about Jay-Z's reputation versus P. Diddy, who wanted to be that perpetual bachelor. Y'all understand? With that said, there has been rumors floating around that Jay-Z allegedly pimps Beyonce out, that he offers her up to other men of power as a bargaining chick. And when I mean offer her up, offers her body up so that they can procure deals and things of that nature. And, you know, I showed y'all a video on my channel a couple months ago when Beyonce was doing an interview on Oprah, and this is when her and Jay first got married, you know, in the 2000s, and Beyonce looked so bright and clear-eyed, and I genuinely have not seen her look that way in years. Every time I see Beyonce out at public events and people are catching videos, she always looks like she's on something. The only time she seems to come alive is when she's performing on stage. You know, that's the only time I see life in her eyes. But outside of that, I don't really see her have that same life she had before she married Jay-Z or when she was with Destiny's Child. You understand? So there has been rumors that he has been using her in that way and that she's the real breadwinner. And when you think about it, the last time Jay-Z had a tour that people cared about was when he was on the Run 2 tour with Beyonce. Him by himself cannot sell out stadiums or can't sell out big venues. And I'm not taking anything away from him as a rapper. The Blueprint was one of the best albums ever made, right? But he's not going to draw the same crowd that Beyonce. He's just not, you know? But that whole image of Black love, us being a rebellious couple together, the good girl with the thug, that draws attention. That draws a crowd. And that coupled with Beyonce's ability to be a magnificent performer, that is a winning strategy. And it has worked up until now. Because if y'all haven't realized, celebrity culture over the people is waning. First of all, they don't have any mystery left. You have platforms like TikTok where people can blow up overnight and feel like they have the exact same status of a celebrity. We know too much about them. We see their flaws. So when you have the Democratic Party call Beyonce and Cardi B up and tell them to come try to get us to vote for him, it doesn't work anymore. And the powers that be are seeing that. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And she was twerking on her knees in front of Arab monarchs. Yeah, it's giving she needs money. Okay. Because she was on a Levi commercial. Do y'all remember that Levi commercial she did? Now, I'm not saying that Beyonce still can't be sexy. I'm not saying that at all. But you're on a Levi's commercial in your underwear in a laundromat. Mind you, it was weird because they had minors present, showing off your butts for a clothing brand that's not even yours. It's Levi's. So you did that to go get a check from Levi's? Levi's? Again, it's a big brand, but it's like it would have been different if she was doing that for her own brand. But you basically doing all that for, just to get a check. Then on top of that, she comes out with this whiskey in a weird looking bottle. That whiskey looked like if you drink it, it tastes like soap. So now you're coming out with whiskey. You come out with a hair care line. Then you come out with a candle in the hair care line. It's giving you need money. It's giving y'all are not billionaires like y'all been claiming y'all are billionaires. Just like how P. Diddy been getting money allegedly from these white sugar daddies the entire time. Okay, which y'all gotta understand about a lot of these celebrities in the Black community, and I know that y'all hate to hear it, but a lot of them were propped up so that we could feel like we could have something to aspire to. Even though every time those people are used for us to go against our own best interests. And to be honest, it's our fault because there are other Black people who are not necessarily on the celebrity status of Beyonce and Jay, who you'll have to never worry about being in these type of scandals. I'll give y'all one example. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is a scientist, a very popular one. Now, I don't agree with his beliefs on COVID. I don't agree with his stance on transgender issues, and I feel like in a lot of things, on a lot of issues, he sold out. But at the end of the day, we will never give the same kind of clout to a man like that we would to a Beyonce and Jay-Z. So all this talk about, ooh, y'all trying to bring the Black man down all the time. Well, that's because your ideas and your belief of what the Black man is only relegated to people who have achieved celebrity status in terms of being a basketball player or being a rapper, right? But, there are plenty of Black men out here who actually have professional careers as scientists and doctors and lawyers and things of that nature who we could be looking to that are not getting torn down, are not going to be involved in any of this. But because that is not what we value, our feelings are so hurt when allegations come out against people like Jay-Z and Beyonce. For why? I don't know. That's something we're going to have to figure out. They're not real billionaires. Yeah, I don't think they're. I can't accept the Black celebrities like B and J are not as big as Taylor Swift. Why can't you accept that? That's easy. That's easy. You got to think about it in terms of like the American market. That's the look like we're still only about 15% of the population. And then you got to think about that. Not everybody in the 15% of our population listens to Beyonce. I've never went to a Beyonce tour. It's not that I don't think she's a good performer. I'm pretty sure that she'd have a good time. It's that I'd have a good time if I went. I think she's one of the greatest to ever do it. I don't particularly like her music catalog. I'm just being honest. With the exception of her first 2 albums, after that, because she was trying to cross over per se, I don't think Beyonce ever really crossed over. That's another thing. She didn't cross over in the way that Rihanna crossed over. Rihanna genuinely crossed over. I didn't like how her music got, I feel like Rihanna did a really good job at still making her music edgy and being able to cross over into that pop lane. And with Beyonce, it's like she never found the right sound to do that. And I don't know why. Does that make sense? And with Beyonce's album, I can't really think of an album that I could play all the way through and enjoy. It's like I have a couple of songs now that I'll pick from each album that I like. But other than that, I don't enjoy the rest of the album. I'm not saying that B is on the chitlin circuit. I think there's a spectrum of it. And I don't think, like, for example, you ain't never really heard Rihanna get the same amount of criticism over being as sexy as she does from other races of people that you do Beyonce. For example, I feel like Rihanna could have went to a Super Bowl and performed and been super sexy. And like white people were going to be like, yes, I stand. Beyonce has always faced a different level of criticism than Rihanna has. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because she has a more voluptuous body. Maybe because she has the bigger breasts. Maybe it's because she has the booty. A lot of it has to do with the fact I've seen that them criticize her for being attached to Jay-Z. Whereas for a long time, Rihanna had been, other than Chris Brown, Rihanna had been single or she had kept her relationships private, right? So she's always constantly got criticism from white people. So I'm not saying she doesn't have white fans. It's just not to the degree. Definitely not to the degree of Rihanna. Who's super commercial? Are you talking about Rihanna? Yeah, she never crossed over in the exact same way that Rihanna did. She never got the support of people of all races in the same way that Rihanna did. That's why, let me explain. Let me put it to you this way. That's why everything Rihanna drops is hot. That's why Rihanna is making so much money off of Fenty, off of Savage, by Fenty. Like anything Rihanna puts out at this point, she has a big enough fan base to sustain it. Beyonce puts out Ivy Park. She keeps putting out all these things and they're constantly failing and flopping because she doesn't really have that crossover fan base. The purchases of her products are completely dependent upon the Black community buying those products. But right now, the Black community is struggling, or a lot of us just simply don't care about the things that she's putting out. So she's not doing as well as Rihanna financially, because in terms of people who are going to actually show up and drop that bread for non-music related products that she's putting out, we're not showing up for her. And white people definitely aren't. I don't know any white people who, are going to go buy her hair products. I don't know any white people who are in a rush to go buy her candles. And I don't know any white people who are in a rush to go buy her liquors. Once you win a Grammy, you off the chitlin circuit. And I can't accept that she's not above all the stereotypes. I thought that was over in the 2000s. I'm overdoing it. I mean, again, and I'm not trying to talk bad about Beyonce, right? I'm not trying to say that she's not talented. I'm not trying to say that she hasn't had mega success. I'm saying the majority of that success, even throughout all her years, was largely dependent upon us supporting her. Even if other groups of people kind of came along and padded that support, if we're not supporting her, nobody else is checking for her. You know what I'm trying to say? And a lot of her original supporters kind of fell off because, again, I'm not going to lie, with time I stopped liking her music, And I understand it's kind of like with Sierra. Sierra, when she had those good, soulful albums, and then she did that album. The last time I listened to a Sierra album was when she did that album with Future. But Sierra wanted to cross over so bad that her music just became bad. Her music just became not memorable. And I feel like that's what happened to Beyonce's music. And it just didn't work for her in the same way that it worked for Rihanna. I'm no Beyonce fan anymore, but I look at them as gods and goddesses. There's no such thing as race for them. I think so. I think the only person who truly escaped, I don't think that they're gods and goddesses. Because how are you going to be a god and a goddess when you still got to go to them people for some money? I feel like Rihanna truly was able to escape that situation. And they probably got some type of foothold on her. But y'all see Rihanna at one point, she was putting out album back to back to back to back to back, and now she's not doing music anymore. Well, that's because she signed a contract for 10 albums, and she made sure she put out those 10 albums and got the hell on, right? But like with Beyonce, if she's not touring and performing and doing music, she's not going to make the same. She's not going to be able to keep the same amount of revenue flowing in as Rihanna is going to be able to, just off of her name. And that's why I'm saying there's levels to this. I think that Beyonce is definitely a better performer than Rihanna, but there's just something about Rihanna to where on a global scale, Beyonce just didn't have the same crossover appeal as she did. So Beyonce is going to have to forever sing and tour. Rihanna, she's not going to have to do that anymore if she doesn't want to. Yeah, it's just a different level. And that is not even to like say one is better than the other, or I personally like one more than the other. It's just about how these things panned out. Now, Beyonce's downfall was going to be Jay-Z, period. Sloan Bella came out and talked about this, I want to say like 5 months ago. Everything she talks about, it comes to pass. People can call her crazy. I don't know if she has some type of insider information or if she's an actual real medium. Because she could just be a plant. I don't know. But so far, when information comes out through her, she hit and she don't miss. Right? So she's been saying that their demise was going to start. Cat Williams came out and said 2024 is going to be the year of revelation. And, you know, you're not as close to a man like P. Diddy and you're Jay-Z and you don't get pulled into it. Whether the allegations are true or not. Now it appears that Beyonce is catching a stray too. So there is this man named Larry Johnson who used to be best friends with Jay-Z, but apparently he kept a lot of trouble and Jay-Z had to end the friendship. But at one point they were even roommates, right? He is coming out and alleging that at a party, at an hour where kids should not have even been at the party, Beyonce and Jay-Z were hanging out with minors, and that Beyonce said something completely, inappropriate to a minor before he left. Give me 1 second. So this was on Tisa Tell's channel. So I'm getting this video off of her channel. Y'all know I like her channel.
Campbell. Y'all, let's get into this. Let's play the video.
I did a Colorado, and I think it was during the winter time of 06 or 07. And Naomi Campbell was there. Actress Jamie King was there. Jay was there. B was there. And he rented this house. And we were supposed to do this rap party for this photo shoot. We rented this house. And we were watching LeBron play. And after the game, it had to be like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults. There was a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old teenage Latin girl that was there. And I think she had to leave because she had school and she had to do homework. But she brought her mother with her. So it was no funny business going on, which I could respect that. So when 11...
Let me just say this, and it's funny that he should bring up a Latin girl. And this is why sometimes we need to get all the facts before we feel like, we're going to just go full speed in supporting certain things, right? A lot of the times, let me say this, a lot of Democrats have supported illegal immigration for as long as they had out of the genuine kindness of their hearts and not understanding that a lot of it is used as a front to do nefarious things, such as child sex trafficking. And a lot of them wouldn't even be able to fathom that there are people in power who are involved in this. But it is true. And a lot of the countries that they like to pull these children out of are Latin American countries. Y'all got to understand, there are countries or places in countries where it is so poor that these parents sell their children for smecks. They take them to rich people and sell them. There are orphanages here in Medellin where the kids had to get taken from their parents because their parents were sex trafficking. Now imagine you could sell your kids into that type of situation in the United States and make way more money than you can here. Do y'all think that there are not going to be parents who are willing to sell their kids or give their kids up to that type of situation just so that they could either get some money or get passage into the United States? Because a lot of them bring their kids along the way to do that anyway. And they don't have any money, so that's how they pay the coyotes and the cartel with their children. So it's funny that he should mention that, especially today. Let me see. There was a speech that was made. It was either Tom Homan. Let me look it up. It was either Tom Homan or Donald Trump who was talking about 500 missing kids who were given, permission to be in this country who have went missing. Let me see. Was it on one site? I'm gonna play this while I find it.
We turned on the music, we started drinking, and then out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking loud music and us dancing wild. Like, I don't know where these kids came from. And then I happened to sit down because I was dancing with one of the assistants. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyonce. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look sexy, or isn't this sexy? And in my mind, and mind you, I'm not awakened as I'm awakened now. So in my mind, I'm like, what did she just say? And then I didn't pay no attention to it. And then, obviously the liquor took hold of me and I had to leave. So I said bye to everybody and left. But those kids remained.
So why is it after 10 o'clock and all these children are at this party with these celebrities, where that, even if Beyonce wasn't doing it, everybody else was going to, at the very least, be drinking alcohol. And then, of course, drugs get involved in the situation. Let's be real. These are celebrities. And we do know at the very least, Beyonce drinks. So you have these children who were not y'all's children at this party with y'all while y'all are having adult time. And then you ask a child, doesn't this look sexy? That's a weird thing to ask a child. I could maybe understand her saying like, oh, isn't this so pretty? Or isn't that so cute? Or, sometimes I ask my daughter, oh, what do you think of my makeup? Or what do you think of my dress? She's getting to that age where, we talk about cute little girly stuff like that. Sexy ain't never entering the conversation. Sorry, it's not. Okay. And again, this is like, these are not your children. Why are they there?
I don't know if those kids were from the photo shoot themselves, but the fact that these kids came around adults during drinking hours or partying hours was already alarming to me. So when I hear something like this,
and even if they were there for the photo shoot, do the job and send them home.
This happens, I can't really discount it and say, oh, he could never do this, because I'm hearing stories, I'm seeing it with my own eyes, and I've been in situations where something don't sound or look right, and it's usually involving children.
Oh, but something is really
so
going
again,
on.
This is all alleged. And I'm not saying that Beyonce did or did not say that, because I was not there. What I'm saying is we have a man who was Jay-Z's roommate for a long period of time, who was at one of these parties, who was alleging that he heard Beyonce say something inappropriate to a minor who was among many minors at this party, who were not those people's children. And this was during adult times and adult drinking hours. One thing y'all gonna learn is to stop placing these celebrities on a pedestal. And just because they're your fave and they can sing and they can dance, to stop putting things past them. You don't know what they had to do to get to where they're at that might have made them a certain way and made them more willing to do certain things. And there have been a lot of allegations that have come out against Jay-Z and Beyonce. I remember in 2010 being 17 years old, and I remember watching this video that I think we got from a bootlegger. Y'all remember the bootleggers when you go get the DVDs from the bootlegger in the hood at the beauty supply house or just selling them out the trunk on the corner. And I remember watching videos back then claiming that Beyonce and Jay-Z were into the occult, claiming that they did Smeg's magic. Okay? So these are not like new allegations. The same thing, Diddy was in that video. They were talking about how they were a part of the boule. If you know, you know. With that said, it's a possibility that none of this is true. What I'm saying is I would err on the side of caution in terms of coming to people's defense, and I would let it play all the way out. Okay, so I found the video I was talking about, and this was from Mayor Eric Adams. So it wasn't Holman or Trump. This is on site. I'm going to go ahead and share this tab. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about tonight. One second.
100,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't.
Okay. Okay. So I guess they were given to adult sponsors. Do y'all remember there was an episode of Law and Order SVU, I believe, where there was a child who was being sponsored from Africa who was given to a family here in the United States, and come to find out they were using the child as a slave. The child was a house slave.
Know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone, but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are.
Now, I respect Mayor Eric. I respect Mayor Eric Adams because he has went against his own party, so much so to where they're trying to get him on charges. Now, whether they're true or not, it's possible they are true. But most of the time, if you do what you tell them, most of the time, if you do what they tell you to do, even if you are doing crooked stuff, they're going to protect you. When you speak out against them, that's when all of your skeletons start coming out of the closet. So I don't believe that Eric Adams is going to remain in the Democratic Party. But I respect him for coming out and talking about these children going missing. That's another thing I want to speak to, because I remember back when the 2020 election was happening and the left was like, oh, kids in cages, talking about what was happening at the border and talking about protecting kids, even though those cages were built under the Obama administration and they were in those same cages, you know, and Trump pointed that out. But it's always about protect the kids, protect the kids, protect the kids. But when we say there are children who are being smegs trafficked in mass across the border and going missing, due to these relaxed immigration policies, all of a sudden, the left has absolutely nothing to say. They pretend like they didn't even hear what you said. They do no further investigation into it. And I don't understand for a party who is so keen on protecting immigrant children.
The victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor. Safety means everything to me. 500,000 children, we don't know where they are right now in this country. We have 500,000 children who have sponsors in this country that we can't.
I'll say this too, Jamal, and that's why I say we don't know. Because when I think about it, yes, I was probably around adults around hours that I should not have been around during those times. But I'm not a good example. Okay. Y'all have heard my story and my history, and I only told a portion of it. Okay. That was a different time. You had a lot of things that adults got a pass for that they don't get a pass now. There were a lot of like inappropriate conversations that I remember taking place at different hours that didn't necessarily, end in me being touched by that particular adult, right? But when I go back and think about it, it was still kind of creepy, Again, I'm not saying Beyonce likes children or has messed with minors. This could absolutely be a situation where Beyonce was just a little drunk, was just a little loose lipped. It could have never happened at all. This could be a situation where Jay-Z is the one who is doing all the dirt and Beyonce is catching strays. Or maybe she's just been silent about it. There was a reason why Solange went in on Jay-Z on that elevator the way that she did. And Beyonce did absolutely nothing. So as my daughter at worst, I saw it as ghetto, but now it looks so much different. Most adults were nice, so who wouldn't trust J and B? But they are taking him down. That's the message they are sending. Yeah, he must have did something that was at a lockstep, and they're just letting him know, we can check you too. The same way Diddy has fallen out of favor, we can get you too. Okay, so how this plays out has yet to be seen. But the most important thing is protecting these kids and protecting these children. And we need to have a serious conversation about what that looks like. The problem is people need to stop being so damn naive, right? And that's what I get whenever I talk to a lot of liberals. Everything is about virtue signaling. Everything is about being nice, not hurting people's feelings, not looking like the bad guys. But like the results of that type of conversation end up being detrimental, and it's giving childish, and it's giving you don't understand the ways of the world and how the world works. The reason why I look like a conspiracy theorist to somebody when I say that kids are being trafficked across the US borders in hundreds of thousands is because you just haven't seen what I've seen. You ain't really been through shit. Honestly and truly. If that sounds crazy to you, then like you have lived a sheltered life, and I don't hold that against you because you don't know what you don't know. But for somebody like me who has seen the darkest parts of society, I mean, dark enough to where if most of y'all were exposed to some of the things that I was exposed to, you would lose your minds. For somebody like me, this is not news, or this is not something that's particularly jarring or surprising. But when y'all hear people are smegs trafficking kids across the border and you're a liberal, y'all just feel like that's just so far-fetched. Like, oh my God, these people are crazy for talking about that. Meanwhile, a lot of y'all live in cities where there are whole brothels where children are being trafficked and city officials are customers of those brothels. There is a real world and an underworld. And I feel like people on the left who feel like they're the good guys need to get their head out of the sand and pay attention to the realities of life. The problem is most people don't like the truth because they can't handle it, because the truth is too much to stomach for the average person. The only way that a lot of people can walk around here on this earth and not lose their mind is if you are living in delusion, if you allow yourself to be gaslit, and you don't see what's really going on. But a lot of y'all are so truth averse and have such negative feelings towards us so-called conspiracy theorists or people who look deeper into things, is because if you know that if you actually had to come to grips with what is going on in this world, you would lose your fucking mind. When to somebody like me, this is just regular shit. They might get down on Drake as well. Oh, his time is coming. Remember the beginning of Diddy's downfall was civil suit against Diego. Drake told UMG, give me a Billy or I'm out. And look at what's happening to him. Yeah, his time is coming. The left acts like the underworld doesn't exist and they are too institutionalized and had a cartoon view of the world like I once was. It felt better. Yeah, it feels good. I'm not gonna lie. Pretending like everybody else is crazy and that these horrific things don't go on, it feels better. Y'all, when I tell y'all, there are times where that negative energy has me feeling so down that I feel like, oh my gosh, how can I get out here and face the world? Knowing what I know, having accepted what I've accepted about the world. How do I continue forward? But you must, because we don't wrestle against flesh, okay? We wrestle against spirits and principalities. Honestly and truly. So if you're not going out and being the light, who's going to be the light? Who's going to be the light? There's so much darkness out in this world. Somebody got to get out and be the light. And it ain't easy being the light. It ain't easy being the light when you know that you're walking into darkness. It ain't. It ain't for the weak. But I've said this before. It doesn't make you a strong person because you're naive to the ways of the world. That doesn't make you a good person because you can walk around and be happy because you won't accept truths, right? What makes you a courageous person is accepting things as they are and still continuing to choose to be the light. So it's the job that we're tasked with. And a lot of people wouldn't be able to do it if they truly understood the things that were going on. But for those of us who understand, we must persist. And that just is what it is. Exactly, Jamal. With that said, I've been on here so long and I still need to cook dinner. And it's almost 11 o'clock at night here in Colombia. I had an awesome time. Thank you, Jamal and Olivia and everybody who showed up, even if you didn't participate in the chat. Remember, I do offer one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in that, go to my description box. My email address, Thepassportsis, is down there. And I will definitely see y'all here again tomorrow. I'm sorry I kind of been out of the loop. I'm trying to stay consistent, but y'all have a good night. What'd you say, Jamal? I don't have the appeal or mental stability to be the light, but I can promote and encourage. Sometimes it's enough to just be the light to yourself. You understand? Like sometimes it's enough to just get yourself out of a dark place. You understand, Jamal? If you can do that, then you did your job. Okay? With that said, y'all have a good night. Goodbye.